Hi, my name's Adam Johnson, and today I'm going to show you how to summarize items by month. So let's say sales or purchases of items, in this instance, chocolates, ice creams, hot dogs, soft drinks and lollipops. So what can be really difficult in Excel to achieve is just to be able to see all of the sales of chocolate in January, for example, all of the sales of ice cream in February, soft drink in each of these months, etc. So how do you achieve this in Excel? Well, you can do it with a couple of clever formulas, and I'm going to show you how to do this, and I'll leave a link where you can download this spreadsheet so you've got the formulas available to you, but it's probably best that you first understand exactly how these formulas work. So this is the formula bar up here, and the most complicated formula you'll find is this one here in this section, where which is your summary section. So first thing we need to do is we want Excel to be able to produce to assign each date a month like this, so that when I add an item, let's say it's the, I'll just use a random date, 2nd of March, 2020. You see how it automatically assigned March to that date? That's what we need to do in the first step. All right, now let's just put lollipops, $25.50. All right. So you can see as I was adding that here, it was adding it up here. I'll just undo that. So there we go. As I add the $25, if you look up here under lollipops in March here, you'll see, oh, there we go. It's added that there, which is exactly what you want it to do as you're going in real time. So first thing you need to do is create this column, these two columns, and that is the date and the time. Date and month. So just put the date from the first. So you just put the first of the first and the current year, like that, and then type Jan in the next column. And then grab this and just drag it down like this all the way down to 365 or 366 days, and that will pre-fill all of that. So I'll just demonstrate that too. Let me clear this. Okay, clear contents. Right, I'm going to grab this one, drag it all the way down, 365 odd. And there we go. It knows to just fill in all of those dates for you. And then what you'll need to do, let me just clear these. You need to grab that Jan, just copy it, and then fill in all of the January ones, right click and paste. And that will fill in January for you. So I'll scroll down. Here's some that I haven't filled in yet down the bottom. Right, so I haven't done June, so I'm just going to put June like that. Click on it, copy it. Now I'm going to select all of June. Whoops. And I'm going to paste. All right, and just keep doing that until you fill them all in. We'll go up to the top again. Now leave a space, a column space here, and create now a new table with date, month, what it's for, and the amount, and any other columns you need there. But this is just a basic example. All right, now how do we get, when we enter a date, so this is our transaction list, and when we enter a date, we want it to automatically fill February, for example. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to use the VLOOKUP formula. So you type equals VLOOKUP like that, and then follow the instructions. So the lookup value is D2, which is the date to the left, just right there. So that's D2, right? So that's the lookup, the first value you need. And then you need, probably don't need this sheet one, get rid of that. Then you need to the second, after you press comma to go to the table array, the next value you want to enter, just highlight everything, all of these dates, these two columns, from the 1st to the 1st right through to the 31st to the 12th, and include the month, and that then becomes the table array. And then you want the column index number, and that means the second column in the table array. So I've put number 2, so we're returning the January value. Now, you'll notice that I've put $ against some of these formulas, some of these lookups here. And that's so that when I drag the formula down, it doesn't. It fixes it to this date here, to these particular cells. It doesn't go to the next cell. I'll explain what I mean by that later. So these $ are really important in the positions that they're in. Right. Create a few rows of entries like I've done here. And the next thing you want to do is turn this into a table. And the way to do that, the way you turn something into a table is you highlight it like this. You go Insert, you go Table, click if your table has headers, and then there you are. Now you can actually sort and filter using these little drop downs like this. Okay, but that table also then inherits a name, like Table 1, for example, which is the default. Okay, so I'm just going to undo that. So this table that I've inserted here is now called Table 1. And how do I know that? Well, when I go to my formula and I click on, I start typing the word table, it'll give me the option of Table 1 for the sum range. All right, so I've inputted all of these. The advantage of having a table is that when you click on, when you press tab like that, it carries all the formulas down as you're going row by row. So you don't have to manually drag that formula down. It just automatically remembers it. All right, so that way you can keep adding rows and rows of information. Now I've added all my variables here. And now I want to create the summary table that looks like this, and this will keep going, you know, May, June, etc. Now the key here is that this table is going to match the exact letters in this cell with all of the ones in these cells. So they must be exactly accurate, but these will be pre-filled anyway, automatically for you, because of the formula we've just created there, the VLOOKUP. Okay, now, and the spelling here must be exact here too. So you could even create like a drop-down box for these if you really want it to be exact, but usually it remembers the last spelling you had anyway. Like for example, if I go soft drink, it'll remember that like that. When I press enter, it's done. So it's always consistent. But if any of the spelling here is slightly different, like hot dog, for example, then it won't add up in this section. It's got to be exact. All right. So these are our key terms here that we're going to use to look up here. Okay, and the term we need is SUMIFS. All right, so what we're doing is we're summing here if certain conditions are met, all right? And those conditions that we need to meet are returning the sum of here, this column here in table 1, which is called amount. Sorry. Yeah, so the table 1 amount, table 1 month, and then J1, which is J1, which is Jan, right? So it's meeting that particular condition, which is Jan, so that differentiates that column as January. And then table 1, 4, so this column is calculated in I2, which is this column here. So in other words, it's comparing table 1, 4, the column of 4, with the column of I. All right, now you can only use this table one and then these column headers in the way that I've used here, which is a very neat way of doing it. If you've created a table here, if you've inserted this as a table by going insert table, right? If you don't do that, it won't work. So once you create your formula here like this, you can then drag that formula down and you can drag it across and it will then fill all these. So let's say, let me just get rid of some of these as an example. Right, I can just drag it across and it knows that when April matches and chocolate matches these two columns here, then add up whatever's in this column here. Right, so those are your variables that you're setting. So, but in order to drag this across the way that I have and it not change the actual cell references or column references to the next one in sequence, because it thinks as you're moving to the right that you want the lookup to move to the right as well. So to avoid that, you can use, normally you'd use $signs, but that won't work in this instance. What you have to do instead is add some additional square brackets, a colon, and then the same reference. So amount to amount. In other words, the whole amount column and stay at the amount column. Don't move across to some other column. Same for month. Same for the column called for. And the other things you'll want to note are where I've put the $signs in the reference cells. So I haven't put the $sign in front of the J in order to lock the cell at J, because I want J1 to move across to K1 as I drag this across, right? So I've just locked the number 1, because when I drag it down, I don't want it to reference 2, then 3, then 4. I want it to keep referencing Jan at the top, which is 1. So I've locked 1, but I've left J open to shift as I pull it to the right. And it's a bit different for the I, because that's this one here. So I've put the $sign in front of the I. I want to lock the column I, but I don't want to lock the row reference as I drag that down. So that's the correct way of doing that formula. And that allows you then to pretty much drag this whole thing across, drag it down, and get all of the correct data that you need. So let's drag this across a bit more for May and June, and let's input one for, have I got my, oh yeah, May, okay. Let's input one for May. So let's go 1st of May. Now that hasn't worked. Hold on one sec. What happened to my formula? Didn't carry down. Oh, I must have deleted it out. Whoops. I'll just drag it down. All right, so there's May. I'm going to add I might add chocolate of $1,000. All right, so now in May, you can see we have chocolate of $1,000. We move to our next row. We'll go, I don't know, 4th of June. There we go, that worked. Don't accidentally delete your formulas. That's the lesson there. Let's go soft drink of $35.60. And we can now see that in June, that's added $35.60. Now what I want to do is I want to tidy this up. I don't want all of these sections visible. I want these on different tabs. My advice is to create all of these columns in the same tab, all of these tables, but leave gaps between them like I've done here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut these two columns and I'm going to stick them over in sheet 3 like that. So they're out of the way, and I'm just going to name that, that's my reference data. And now I can delete all of these 3 columns. Goodbye. Okay, and now this totals column, this totals table, cut that, and add that here. Here we go. I use Control X is cut, Control V is paste, Control C is copy, by the way, if you didn't know those keyboard shortcuts. Okay, so now that is my summary, and this is my, I don't know, my data. All right, so, and now just to neaten things up, I'm going to actually hide column B, because I don't really need that day to day, because I know now that the formula will fill it in for me. Now I have a nice neat table. I can go, all right, let's go 3rd of January, tab across, let's go ice creams and $400. Go across to the summary, ice creams, January. We can't tell if that's gone up by $400. Let's change that to May. All right. So now in May, we have $400 of ice cream. There it is. All right, that reference data can also be hidden. You can just hide that whole tab. Goodbye. There we go. Now you just got data and summary in a nice, neat table. So I hope you found that useful. I'll post this up on YouTube, and I'll post the link to this spreadsheet as well. Bye for now.